Finally, I want to close this section by looking at some shortcut functions that are really abbreviations for using $.Ajax with certain options. The first one is $.get. So if you call $.get, you supply a URL, a data object, and a success handler. So this first line, using $.get, is exactly in every way identical to the slightly longer line using $.Ajax. So people can very legitimately argue, hey, if I'm making GET requests anyway, I might as well use $.get because it's shorter and simpler. And perhaps they have a point. Similarly, there's $.post. You supply an address, a data object, and a success handler function. So this $.post line is equivalent to this slightly longer line that uses $.Ajax. And then there's a version with JSON built in. So if you say get JSON, notice the uppercase SON. You supply a relative address on the server, a data object, and a success handler. And that one line is equivalent to this longer line using $.Ajax. And it should be noted that the type can be supplied as the fourth argument optionally for each of those. All right, so which is better, the shortcut method or the explicit call to $.Ajax? Well, this is a little bit debatable. The big advantage of these shorthand functions, $.get, $.post, and $.getJSON, is that they're shorter. Short is good. It's easier to understand. It's a little bit arguable, but most people think it's easier to understand. And it's just easier to change. There's less kind of boilerplate code lying around cluttering things up. So that's an argument in favor of it, and it's a very legitimate argument. On the other hand, there are some downsides. If you want to add extra options, you want to add a caching option, you want to add this option or that option, or you want to switch from get to post, if you use $.get, you have to kind of refactor your code, modify your code in a larger way than if you'd used $.Ajax. And so if you think, well, you know, I'm probably going to add a bunch of those options later on, let me kind of plan for it and use $.Ajax from the beginning. Or I'm not really sure if I want get and post, so I'll just leave that as an option, so I'll use $.Ajax rather than $.get or $.post. Also, and some people consider this a more serious downside, with $.get and $.post, there's not a direct way of supplying an error handler. You have to use a separate function call to set it up first, and then it's kind of hidden in the $.get and $.post. And in real life, it's kind of moderately common to say, if the result comes back successfully, show this data. If the result fails, in other words, the server times out or there's an HTTP error, display an error message to the user explaining that the server is temporarily down. And then if you're accessing a URL that doesn't take any parameters, with $.Ajax, you just omit the data property. You just don't say anything about the data property. Whereas with $.get and $.post, since the handler function is the third argument, you got to pass something in as the second argument, and so you tend to pass in null. You know, it's not really any longer. The top way is still shorter than the bottom way, but it just looks a little bit uncomfortable. All right, so there's no clear consensus in the industry on which is better. Some people prefer to use the shorthand methods. Some other people, and I'm one of those, prefer to use $.Ajax because it's only a little bit longer, and then I can add other options later and not change my code very much. But be aware that $.get, $.post, and $.getJSON exist, and so if you see some of your colleagues or coworkers using it, you won't be confused about what they're doing.